Hey everyone, it's Amber Spotted Elk at the Paper Owl and welcome to my channel. Today we have an awesome video in store for you. I'm actually part of the DIY Halloween challenge hosted by Brittany Allen Crafts as well as co-hosted by Actually Allie. I will have both of their channels as well as the playlist in the description box below. I'm super excited to show you guys this video today, and I'm so excited to be decorating for Halloween this year. I know it's a little bit different for everyone, so I'm glad to have some festive decor up in my house. So if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does help my channel. Subscribe so you can get notified every single time that I upload, and also comment below, let me know which project is your favorite. And without further ado, let's get started.
Hey everyone! So starting out today, we're going to use some of the creepy cloth, one of those wooden crosses from the Dollar Tree, 2 of these spider web decorations, and also 4 of those pumpkins you can see laying there from the Dollar Tree as well. So I'm starting by taking off all of this little fluff stuff that they have on these, which was really relatively easy. I take the pumpkins, I cut the stems off, I put a little hot glue. They have little teeth that kind of connect them together, but I wanted it to be a little sturdier. And so I'm taking some orange jute cord that I had on hand. I was actually gifted this by my mother-in-law, so thank you to her. And you can use any cord, any yarn you might have on hand. Dollar Tree even carries yarn in their crafting section now, so you can definitely do this on a budget. And so I'm just covering these pumpkins in this. I like the way this looks a little bit more than that kind of glitzy bright orange. I did save that, as you can see. It's sitting there in the corner because it is like kind of like a pipe cleaner, a really long pipe cleaner. So you can definitely use that in other projects, especially things like wreaths and stuff like that, where you're connecting stuff and you're not going to see the color of it. So just little tip there. I did save the eyes and the mouth and the nose that I cut off of these, and they stayed in pretty good condition. I'm just cutting a little bit of the leftover orange stuff that stayed on there, and I like the traditional jack-o'-lantern look, so I just kept those. If you want to change it, you can definitely take some black paper and cut out whatever you want your pumpkin to look like. The next ones I painted black just with Waverly's black ink color, and again gluing those together. These we're going to use the creepy cloth, and I cut the creepy cloth off in strips, and this was just the look I was going for. You could absolutely just wrap it around and kind of one bigger, keep it all connected and wrap it around. That would absolutely work. I just wanted this to look a little bit more tattered. You can see like the strings coming out more. These are going to be little mummies, and so that just was more of the look that I wanted. So if you wanted this to be a little bit easier, you could absolutely keep it on all together and not do the strips. That would be totally fine. I just liked this tattered look a little bit better, and because of that, that's why I painted it black, because if any little parts were showing through, I didn't want them to be that orange color. I just took a piece of black paper, I cut out a couple rectangles. I in no way wanted these to be perfect or even, and so I just stuffed these inside. I wanted the bottom and the top to be covered up a little bit by the creepy cloth, and so and I wanted them to look uneven. Any of the mummy pictures I saw, that's kind of how the eyes looked. This yarn I actually got from the Dollar Tree. It was a few months back, so I'm not sure you could find this exact one, but any yarn would look fine. This looked particularly good just because it has those stringy pieces. I loved that. I took these skulls, and we'll be decorating these in the next DIY. And I got these at the Dollar Tree. I kind of spiced them up a little bit, and I'm just placing them on these and gluing them. So these are going to be our people inside of our Ferris wheel carts. So that's what we're making today. I'm super excited about it. So I placed those little people in. I put our Ferris wheel together on that cross, and I'm using little dowel sticks to place these guys in here. I did paint the dowel sticks black, and I just placed the dowels kind of how it was going to best place them in the Ferris wheel so that they had good support and that we could see them kind of riding around. So you just kind of had to play with it a little bit on what was going to be the best placement for the best support for your people. So that's all I did, and then I went back through and I cut down the dowel rods so that you wouldn't see as much of them. And honestly, with the final product, I don't even see them there. It's just, part of the construction, and it's not really like these big sticks poking out or anything. Like, I cut them down considerably. So, and then I just hot glued those in place for some sturdiness, and that's it. They turned out amazing. I touched them up with black paint because obviously where I clipped them off, you're going to see the wood a little bit more. So that's all I did. And then I did take a string and tie on the spider web to that cross for some more stability. I painted our spiders orange. I placed those back on our spider web, and it just turned out gorgeous. I love the way this looked. So now we're starting with these skulls. They come in an 8-pack. I took these markers from the Dollar Tree. I was going to spray paint these, which you could absolutely do. It would probably be a little bit easier, but these markers went actually really fast. So I colored in the skulls in different colors. So I did gold. I did this kind of pink rose goldy color, and then I think I did one or two in silver. And so I just painted all of those up, or colored all of those in, and then I took some jewels. I got those at the Dollar Tree. I got one bag at Michael's that I had on hand, and I just took different size jewels, put those in for the eyes. These Dollar Tree gold ones were great because they're actually all connected along that strip. So this was super easy and fast to put on these pieces. I also found some little paper flowers that I used. You can really just dig into your stash, use those gems and jewels. I honestly don't use these very often, and so it was really nice to play with these because I don't use them much in the crafting that I do, and so it was a lot of fun to bring these out and kind of bedazzle these skeleton heads. So you could leave the skeleton heads as is, you could paint them white, you could paint them different colors, however you want to decorate these, which is really nice. You really have the freedom to do, whatever you want with these. You could leave them as is. So I went through and I really just covered this entire skeleton head in those gold jewels. The rest of them I decided to do more of like little patches where I did kind of just one side or one little area. I made like a little flower headband for one of them, and so I just really played around and did everything as I wanted. And so I really enjoyed this part of the video. This part of the project, excuse me. It was just kind of relaxing, and I just kind of sat and had fun, and it was great. They turned out awesome. I will say with some of these Dollar Tree ones, you do kind of have to glue down. The adhesive doesn't stick well, especially because we're using like a round object. So you want to make sure that you've got a good bond. So in some of the places, I did go back and just add a little bit of extra glue to make sure that they were going to stick on there well and not start falling off, especially around some of the bends and stuff. So and then next up, we are going to be making some brooms. So I got these at Walmart, the paper straws. You take a black piece of paper, you cut it down for how long you want your broom, and then you just fray it. So you make those little cuts, not all the way to the top. You leave about 1/2 inch, I would say. And then I just take this tool and I kind of run it across to bend the paper, so it makes it a little easier to attach. A little bit of hot glue, and you just wrap this around. And I love this. It was super simple. You start wrapping it, adding the hot glue, and then I kind of played with the fray a little bit so that it would come out and it wasn't just kind of sticking straight down. So that's something that I recommend. And then with the paper straws, you can find black and white paper straws at the Dollar Tree. I saw some in a pack that came with some teal or light blue and white straws as well. So you can find black and white straws at the Dollar Tree. I did see those after I made this video. So, but the ones at Walmart were 98 cents. I just took some yarn and I wrapped that around the top just to kind of make that look a little bit more clean. So I just finished them off by doing that. I took these pieces of wood and stained them previously so you guys didn't have to see that. And then I took this pack of letters. I actually got these at the Dollar Tree, but I wanted them to be gold. So I just took my gold marker, which I also got at the Dollar Tree, and I painted these I painted them gold. They were also kind of different letterings. Like some of them were all the way colored and some of them were like these little dots. And so I didn't like that. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this as well. And I just did the letters that I needed. And this turned out great. The coloring stayed on there well. It really took it nicely. So I was really, really happy with this. So if you're at the Dollar Tree and you need lettering stickers and you don't like the color, don't worry, just paint them, spray paint them, do whatever you need. And so I take my pieces of I have some painter's sticks here, I've got some jumbo popsicle sticks, and then one of the little crate pieces from the Dollar Tree. So these were honestly just some scraps that I had lying around, and I kind of cut a couple of them down to be matching size, and then I took just some jumbo popsicle sticks there to give this a little bit of dimension by gluing those on the painter sticks, and then added a little support there, and those are just jumbo popsicle sticks, crafter sticks, with a special walnut stain on them. And so I love the way this turned out. I took that Dollar Tree crate and I glued that to the back to give it some stability. And that front piece is the one that I'm going to use to say broom parking. And so I had these little clips that I had taken off of something else that I saved. If you're a crafter, you tend to save every little piece of everything. So I had these laying around. You could use C hooks for this as well. And I just glued those onto our crate and made sure they were nice and sturdy, and those are going to be what hold our brooms in place. So you don't even have to have that piece. You could just have the brooms laying up against there. That would be fine. But you could see I got the broom parking on there. Some of the pieces weren't as adhered, so I did use a little bit of hot glue to keep some of them on for the lettering. And that's it. We have our little stand, and I love the way that turned out. So I wanted to show you guys, I tried making a fortune teller ball out of the snow globe, and I'm so dumb. I put my heat tool in there to try and heat up the Mod Podge and totally melted it. So don't do that. And so I take a couple shadow boxes from the Dollar Tree. This had a little hanging element, so I took that off. I glued these together. I painted them black. And you can see I glue them kind of on top of each other so that it created this box. I take some of Waverly's paint in the color ink and just painted this black. I took that gold globe, which is actually a ornament, and that's it, our fortune teller. So next up, we're making some candles. You can see here I melted down one of Dollar Tree's candles. I poured it in one of their little tiny skeletons, the little witches thing there. Oh my gosh, I forgot what it was called. Our little trick-or-treat candle. I got that at the Dollar Tree. I just heated the candle up inside of the microwave. So I took the colors that I wanted. We're going to make a candy corn one here. And so I love the way these turned out. They turned out absolutely gorgeous. I'm using this kind of pumpkin shaped one here, and I am just so happy with the candles. They're super easy to make. You just melt down the Dollar Tree wax. You let them cool, and and then that's it. So for those ones that I used the little plastic containers from the Dollar Tree, to cut those out, you just take a crafter's knife and cut the plastic off. So you just have to work with it a little bit. So I had left the popsicle stick holding up the wick, and it left like this mark across the skull. So I end up kind of shaving that down a little bit, which was no problem at all. But the witch's cauldron, that's what it's called. Oh my gosh, why couldn't I think of that? Anyway, I done the witch's cauldron already. You can see that turned out super cute. Was super happy with that. I did heat up my my crafter's knife a little bit to help cut through the plastic in a couple places, because there are a couple places where it gets a little bit thick. And so all I have to say with this is just be careful. Make sure you're never like pulling your crafter's knife down towards a finger or anything like that, because it is easy with these, especially when you're dealing with like slippery wax, to slip and like cut yourself. So just be careful, do this, have some patience, and sit down, take your time, grab a cup of coffee, some tea, and just cut these little plastic bits off. I usually cut half of it off, and then the other half kind of just slips off. So with this one, I had hot glued the wick to the bottom, which is helpful. But if you do that, you have to remember that you can't cut the bottom off. So you have to kind of cut around it and save that bottom piece on there, which is fine. Then it has a little protection on whatever you're placing it on. So, and I just kind of worked my way around, did little pieces. Some of it was a little bit easier to come off than other pieces. So just keep that in mind and take your time. I honestly had a lot of fun making these. They were super fun. I can't wait to make some for the Christmas, winter holiday season. So, and what's nice about these little ones is they're perfect for a gift. And then they're also, you can use, I think I used one of the Dollar Tree candles and was able to make two of these tiny ones. So with the bigger candles, I did have to use two of the Dollar Tree candles, because they do melt down the wax a lot when you heat them up. So, but what was great is that you could just throw them in the microwave. You could also put them in a pot of boiling water, but the microwave worked fine. Make sure you've got some pot holders on hand. And I actually used some different essential oils to place in these as well, to give them a nice scent. You can buy essential oils at the Dollar Tree actually, and that would be perfect to not use like your really expensive essential oils, to make some candles. So I was super excited, and that's what I did, because I have some essential oils that are a little bit more pricier, and so I don't want to use those when I'm doing like my crafting a lot. If it's like a special craft, or if I don't need very much, then fine. But to make some Halloween candles that I'm not going to have out for very long, I just picked up some of the Dollar Tree essential oils, and that was perfect. I actually used a whole bottle in making all of these candles and did not feel bad about it. So just a little side tip there. So you can see this part gave me a little bit of trouble because it was a thick plastic right here. Like it got really thick there. I'm not sure why the other side was not that hard, but I just kind of kept working with it. And I heated up my tool again and just kept messing around with it, trying to make sure that I wasn't cutting into my wax and going slow. I didn't want to press down too hard, because if you press down too hard, you're going to go right through your candle. So, and part of this is, while you're working with it, your hands kind of start to melt a little bit of the wax. And so you've got to be careful by that as well. But you can just kind of run your fingers over it, smooth it back out. And that's what I did. And they turned out super cute. So I am using 4 pages from an old encyclopedia actually that I had found a long time ago, and it's from like 1900. But you can use like printed pages, old book pages, whatever you want to do. These were all nice and yellowed already, so I was super happy with that. And then I found that skeleton printable online for free. I just Googled image of a skeleton wearing a top hat because I'd seen another piece of art like that, and so I wanted him to be wearing a little top hat. So I just used a glue stick, glued that onto the back of my the page that came into it. I took a little of this brown ink that I have, this distressing ink, but you could use brown ink from Michaels, or you don't even have to do this part. But I just wanted to kind of age this a little bit more, make it look a little bit more dingier, a little bit more old. So I just took the corners and the edges and just went in a little bit, and then I took my little applicator and kind of went all over the page as well, just really lightly, just to give this a little bit more interest, a little more depth and texture. And so I really liked that. And then I went through with my skeleton and I cut him out. You could do it just like this if you wanted, but I went through and cut all around him, all the white pieces. I used my adhesive tape that I have. You could use the glue stick. I was afraid I was going to rip him, so I didn't want to use the glue stick, but you could absolutely use the glue stick. You could use even hot glue if you wanted to and glue him down. And I just found the placement for him and put him right in the middle. I love this piece. I love this piece so much. It turned out so cute. I painted the little black spider just a little bit darker just because it's such a small piece. I wanted to make sure he didn't get lost in the wording, so I just colored him in a little bit darker with that pen. And then you just flip this around, put it in your frame, and that's it. He's all done. Next up, we're taking this witch's hat, and again, it has that kind of Chanel stem wiring around it. I take all of that off, and we're going to make this into a wooden sign with some jumbo craft sticks. I'm super excited about how this turned out. I saw these witches hats all around this year where they kind of had different sayings on them, and I took some inspiration from one of my favorite holiday movies, which is Hocus Pocus. I cut all of those little teeth off of the ends there because we don't want those on there. You could probably keep them on, but then your popsicle sticks are going to have to be a little bit longer, and I feel like it was going to mess up with the adhesion to the hat, so I didn't want to do that. I lined up some craft sticks that I had just cut off the rounded edges. I tried to keep them all together just to make this a little bit easier, but I just laid my hat down and traced it along. That's why I had the tape on there, because when I was laying the hat down, I didn't want the pieces to move so that I could get a good tracing of it. And then I just took a pencil and traced around the witch's hat, and we wanted the craft sticks to be a little bit larger than the witch's hat just so that they had more to hang on to when we glue them on. And so I just took the tracing and then I cut all of these down from there, and it was super easy. That was all I did. And so I'm just cutting the pieces now from where I had traced, and I then took the jumbo craft sticks and I stained them with a faux stain. I took some black acrylic paint. I think it was acrylic. It might have been the Waverly's pink in the color ink, which is just black. And put some water in there, and then used that mixture to kind of faux stain these in a black stain. So I got them all lined up to make sure they were all going to fit nicely and how I wanted them. Glue them on, and then like I said, you can then use that mixture. I did use Waverly. There we go. So the Waverly ink paint with some water, and just brush that on here. And then you're going to take like a baby wipe or a wet paper towel and wipe off the excess. So I wanted this to be more of a stain and not a paint. because I wanted kind of that wood coloring. I wanted it to look old. I wanted it to look not new and shiny. I wanted it to really have an older, kind of dirtier look to it. So that's why I went with this route. Obviously, you can do whichever way is going to go with your decor or whatever look that you're trying to achieve. If you wanted to paint this black or brown or have it stained a brown, then absolutely you can do that. That's what's so great about some of these projects is you can really make them your own. You can really go with what's going to work for you. So I just go through and do that the rest of the way. So you can see that wood still coming through. And I do go over, make some places a little bit darker because I wanted it to be more of that darker black stained look. And so what's great about this kind of faux staining with the paint is that you can add paint, you can add water, you can really go with what look you're trying to achieve. So if you want it to be darker, you add more paint. If you want it to be lighter, you add more water. And you can just go through and mess with it and really, make it custom to you and the look that you're trying to achieve. So I really like that about this faux staining with the paint versus using a traditional wood stain. Don't get me wrong, I love traditional wood stains. I did that with the broom parking sign that we did earlier, and I love that look as well. But for some things, this just works better for me, and it creates less of a mess and you don't have the smell, so that's a plus too. So you can see it's all done here. I took one of those metal beware signs that they had. I painted it white to go with the rest of my wording that I put on here. I used my Cricut and went through and made a couple words that I wanted to be on the hat. And so like I said, I saw a ton of these around this year that had just different sayings on the witches' hats. And so this is kind of my version of that. And so I just love the way that this ended up turning out. It just really did look kind of old and grungy and really the look I was going for the setup. So super happy with it. My O was trying to, or the dot to my I was trying to come off there. So, but if you don't have a Cricut, you can use, like I said, the Dollar Tree letters, and you can paint them if they're not the right color for you, or you can use stencils, you can hand paint. I mean, you can really do anything. I just used what I have on hand, and I happen to have a vinyl cutter on hand. So, and I just love the way this turned out. Super easy, not too hard. A little bit of patience when you're cutting the craft sticks to glue to the hat, but just really love this. So cute. You could leave that beware the metal tin too. This is super easy. I just took the brooms. I wanted to show you guys this, and I took off the bows they had. They had it on with like this little wire or whatever. I just took some ribbon from the Dollar Tree, made my own bows, and that really just made these look a little bit better. So I just wanted to show you guys that I did that, because that's going to be part of our little setup that we have here at the end. And I just took a little bit of hot glue and glued on our ribbon, and that was it. So super easy. Just a little shoestring bow, nothing crazy, but it really just made them look a lot better. So, and I made this little guy for our Ferris wheel, and this was just some extra pieces I had laying around, and I love the way our Ferris wheel turned out, you guys. Like, it's so cute, and it's a sturdy piece with that cross in the middle, and it tied onto the spider webs, and we've got our little skull riders inside riding the Ferris wheel. And I saw some of these Ferris wheels around for decor this year, and they were like crazy expensive, some of them. So, I mean, I think I spent $8 making this whole setup. So, I just had thrown this together a little close with some spiders in it from the Dollar Tree. There's our broom parking. It turned out super cute. I did make a little sign for our fortune teller's ball, and just used some wording from my Cricut, so, and that is a Dollar Tree sign. Here's our candy corn candle right there too. But there is our skeleton. You can see that I put one of those brooms next to him, some Dollar Tree spider webbing in the corner there. But I absolutely love him. Like, it was probably one of the easier projects and one of my favorites. And here's our witch's hat. Love the way this turned out as well. I love the texture that tin beware adds to it. Really like that. And here are our candles set up, and I just put one of those bows around it from the Dollar Tree ribbon. And here are our witch's cauldron and the skeleton candle, or the skeleton head candle. Love the way those turned out. It really took so much of the detail in. I was really, really happy. That is a Dollar Tree pumpkin right there too. And there's our trick or treat candle. These are some pumpkins I made in a different DIY, so definitely go back and look at those. And our candy corn candle. I will say this was a little bit harder. I didn't let it dry as fast, so the colors got a little bit muddled, but still super happy with the candy corn candle. You can still see the different colors in there, so super happy with it. And there's our whole setup. I'm loving this, you guys. I don't usually decorate a whole lot for Halloween. I had a couple pieces like that one that lights up in the back corner there, but not much. So comment below, let me know which project is your favorite. Here's everything with the lights turned down. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And like I said, comment below, let me know which of these projects is your favorite. Subscribe to my channel to make sure you don't miss any videos. Hit that bell button so you get notified every single time that I upload. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy crafting. I hope you guys have a great Halloween this year.